Oxford was hit by a major flood in January 2024. It seriously impacted people's lives, closed businesses, shut main roads, and people's houses were flooded. This came almost exactly 10 years after the last big serious flood to hit Oxford in 2014, and that was described in a 1 in 100 year flood. In 2014, I went and interviewed my neighbours to understand their opinions on the flooding and whether climate change was related. So I thought I'd go back 10 years later and find out what people's opinions were and whether they'd changed. 2014, opinions were really mixed in my community about whether flooding and climate change were linked.
Do you think these floods have got anything to do with climate change and global warming and that sort of stuff?
Well, people say it, but other things...
No?
No, not much, no. Those things are to do with the sea and all that, you know?
Yeah.
Not with the flood like these, you know? Yeah.
The way we've used and abused the planet.
Well, they say global warming, but I think the Earth's it's been cold and warm over hundreds of millions of years. Right. So whether they can predict it's getting warmer, I don't know really, because I don't think it is.
So I think we do need to have a control over global warming, and that's how we control. We use less the gases and clean our rivers and have a better management.
In 2024, it does seem that more people are convinced about the link between flooding and climate change.
It's certainly getting wetter.
So you think in the future it's going to get worse, or?
I think there'll be more flooding if we don't do something about the climate emergency that seems to be on everybody's agenda but not moving very quickly.
Why do you think this might be happening to Oxford?
Climate change and global warming has a massive effect on it.
I think certainly the science seems to suggest that with global warming the atmosphere is becoming wetter generally and we're seeing more extreme weather events.
But not everyone thinks climate change is part of the problem.
So some people say this is like something to do with climate change. What do you think about that?
No, I don't think so. No.
We went back to talk to Betty, who in 2014 wasn't convinced that climate change had anything to do with the flooding that was impacting her.
Do you think this global warming or climate change has got anything to do with it?
I shouldn't think so.
A decade later, Betty, now 91, actually thinks that climate change is a serious part of the reason why her home and others around her are getting flooded more frequently and more often.
So some people, we've just talked to a few people and they think it might be to do with climate change. Have you got...
Well, of course, I think it is, yes. Because everything is getting more extreme, isn't it?
We know from climate scientists that flooding in the UK is getting worse and more frequent. But because the scientists know it, doesn't necessarily translate into what people around us are thinking. We're hearing more about the issues of climate change, but unless we communicate it more effectively and speak to where people are at, we'll continue to have problems in getting the support we need for climate action.